welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to be doing a Bible study, and today's Bible study is going to come from Luke chapter 15 verses 11 through 24. So let's jump in and read it, and then we'll talk about it.
And 11 through 24 says, "And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of the property that is coming to me,' and he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country, and there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who had sent him into the fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants.' And he arose and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. And bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate."
Okay, so this is the parable of the prodigal son and his father. So we're not really going to break this one down verse by verse per se, but we're just going to kind of talk about what happened in the story as a whole and what it means. So it starts out with this man, and he has 2 sons, and the younger son is worried about his inheritance and what he's going to gain from that. And he's struggling with greed, and so he desires his inheritance, and he wants it now. His father gives him his desire, gives him his inheritance early, and the son, he takes it and he doesn't use it wisely, and then he finds himself in need because he didn't use it wisely and he wasn't careful with his spendings. So his greed and his rebellious way of life there starts to bear fruit, and it's not really good fruit. Him getting his inheritance early started out as like a greedy desire, but then it kind of just spiraled and turned into something bigger, where he wanted what he wanted so badly that he didn't care to prepare for himself long term with his inheritance, and he soon finds himself losing it all. And so this rebellious way of life kind of breeds self-destruction. Yeah, it backfired on him, which we can kind of connect with a little bit too, because a lot of times selfish desires and what we see and what we want materialistically in this world and in this life can put us in bad positions a lot of times.
So the son finds himself in this position of need and desperation, and he goes off and gets a job working for a Gentile, feeding his pigs. That kind of job would have been looked down upon because pigs are considered unclean animals. So he's just really got into the rock bottom.
Yeah. Then through the story, at this point, you can kind of tell that he starts to realize what he's done, and it talks about how he says, "How many of my father's hired servants have had more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger?" So he's coming to the realization that even his father's servants are living better than he is living, and so he decides to humble himself and go back home and beg his dad to give him a job. Even though he knows he messed up, he's just hoping that his dad is going to care enough to at least let him work for his food and his needs.
So this act shows the realization of his sins and his humility.
That's also kind of connected with us new Christians, like whenever they come to the realization of their sins, they admit their sins, and they turn to the Father in humility and ask him for forgiveness. So verse 20 says, "And he arose and came to his father, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him," which I think was really unexpected from the son. I don't think he expected that type of a reaction.
I'm going to read the commentary for verse 20. "A long way off emphasizes the father's great love. He must have been watching for the son. The father cast aside all behavioral conventions of the time, as running was considered to be undignified for an older person, especially a wealthy landowner such as this man." And then where it says embraced him, it means literally fell on his neck.
So big hug.
Yeah. Big old bear hug.
This one kind of just stands out because even though the son had made really, really bad decisions, the father was still happy to see him. And he wasn't standing there waiting to throw all of his wrongdoings in his face. He was just glad to be back in relationship with him. That also reflects salvation and the beginning of a relationship with God too. He's, no matter what you've done or who you've been, he's always happy to see you come home to him, and he's happy to start that relationship with you.
The son doesn't really understand the father's grace given to him, and he begs for forgiveness. Part of verse 21 says, "I am no longer worthy to be called your son." So
he's embarrassed of his actions, clearly. Yeah. And we get that way too. When in life we do things that we're not proud of, and later upon reflection we realize that it was a bad decision, and then we feel kind of guilty and unworthy because of it.
But the father clearly wasn't worried about what his son had done.
So in the story we see a relationship that gets broken, but the father still had hope that at some point in time that relationship would be mended. It's something that stood out to me was just that the father never lost love for the son. I think that he always was just waiting for him to come home. He always had hope that at some point he was going to come home. There was just like an emptiness that he wasn't there with him, and he just longed to be in relationship with him.
Verse 24 says, "For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." And they began to celebrate.
This verse speaks to that now their relationship is alive again. That's what he's talking about. Was dead. That relationship was dead, and now it is alive again. And that is a cause for celebration. I think that whenever we become in relationship with God, that there's a celebration too. And a lot of times we see that in our churches. Not only is that like a celebration just in churches here on earth, but there's also a celebration that happens between God and his heavenly host. They rejoice whenever someone is saved. And that's because it's an eternal decision that's going to affect that person forever.
So the purpose of the parable is how we can relate to the son's rebelliousness, because we can also be rebellious and turn towards sin and away from our Father, God. The second purpose is the father in the parable represents God our Father.
So to kind of expand on that a little bit, every time we give in to one of those sinful desires, it creates separation between us and God. And then the Father, like she said, represents God our Father. He is loving, forgiving. He longs for us to come home to him. He waits to restore us, and then he celebrates when we do come home to him.
So no matter what someone has done against God spiritually, he still wants them to come back to him, to be restored and to be loved.
So that's it for this Bible study. We hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys like Bible studying with us, we post Bible studies every Monday, so come back next Monday. We hope to see you guys there. And if you want to hang out with us more, we also post videos on Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesday's videos are faith-based videos, and right now we're going through a book called What If God Wrote Your Bucket List by J. Lietner. And then Friday videos are always just something fun and lighthearted, fashion, makeup, food, anything like that that catches our interest for the week. So we hope to see you guys in those videos as well.
If you do like our videos, be sure to like them and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to be notified when we upload our new videos, be sure to hit the little bell after you subscribe.
We hope you guys have a good day, have a good week, and don't forget to shine. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.